Aloha, soul family. Welcome to our end of days. And that's DAZE. As usual, raw, unedited, so you know it's not AI slop. And we'll just get into it. I haven't recorded in a few days. And there's layers to why I haven't been doing this. And it was the subject of what I wanted to talk about today. And it's the subject of fear. And there's multiple layers to fear because I believe that part of understanding fear is recognizing that it's not an enemy. And I disagree with the aspect of, the only thing to fear is fear itself. All right. In a particular way. As I like to say, there's only one absolute, right? So there you go. All right, you guys. But with that said, everything that we experience serves a purpose. All right. And fear is one of those things that does serve a purpose. All right. At the same time, it can also be a limiting factor in our lives that are preventing us from escaping stories and programming which are keeping us beholden essentially to fear. And I know this is kind of a complex subject, and I know I talk about story a lot, but story is how we define our world. Story is how we explain ourselves, how we put into context everything that we do. And fear is part of this as well. All right? Just like the other emotions, but like I said, today I'm talking about fear. And things that have hurt us in the past, we tell ourselves, okay, I never want to experience that pain again, so I'm going to do things differently. And then we create a story about things. And a lot of the times, the story, especially when we're younger, we don't have the full amount of data. We don't have the capacity to really determine what happened. And so the stories that we tell ourselves end up being very limited in scope. And this is also collective, but I'm going to more focus on the individual basis for at least at the moment. And I can definitely recognize it within my own patterning, within my own self, all right? And to a certain degree, I'm just going to kind of out and say it, all right, you guys? Society is a cult, in my opinion, all right? All of society is essentially some kind of cult. And it's good to be aware of that, all right? And then this is how we can be in the world, but not of the world, all right? Essentially be in the cult, but not of the cults, all right? And understanding foundational reality, understanding how things truly work is the way to do this, all right? And this is what Jesus was trying to tell us. This is what Jesus was teaching us, is how to exist and understand foundational reality. Because in doing so, we can navigate with the Holy Spirit in alignment with how things truly are when we love the truth, all right? That's the when we care about the truth, all right? When we care about the truth more than anything else, it will set us free, all right? This has at least been my experience, because crazy things have happened in my life, but I see, all right, that everything that has happened has been for me to overcome the limited programming which was keeping me trapped in fear. And in letting those stories go, it is giving me more ability, more capacity to be able to live in this life in a way that I would have never been able to live in before. It wouldn't matter what I have physically, materially. If I didn't overcome these stories, I would still be beholden to that fear. And that fear is what kept me in a state that is, in my opinion, it's hell. All right, guys, I'm just going to out and say it. Living in fear all the frickin' time, it's a nutso world. All right, it's not a good time. And all right, to a certain degree in a capacity, the whole entire world that I see is still kind of stuck within a pattern of fear. And so this is why it's so important to be able to talk about this, all right? And I'm going to come at this from several different angles. There's lots of people talk about you got to overcome fear, you got to move through your fear. Yeah, and the caveat that I have there is, do you understand why it's there? All right, sometimes it's necessary to understand, or at least understand fear in the right kind of context, all right? Because there's certain things that I feel like are there to tell us we're not going in the right direction. And fear is actually one of those things. When I start to feel afraid, I know that I'm not living into a future that I want to. And I know that I'm coming from an angle that is essentially disempowered and weak. All right, that's why I'm feeling that fear. All right. And so understanding it in that context, fear is a messenger. And when we understand what the message is, we can avoid that. We can avoid what fear is telling us to avoid. All right. We can create something else instead. And this is the whole capacity. This is also has to do with story. If we're telling ourselves a story which is not helping us, which is keeping us trapped in a traumatic experience that we're essentially living over and over and over, we need to let go of the story. And this is where fear jumps in, all right? A lot of the stories that we tell ourselves have to do with protecting ourselves. I won't talk about who, but someone in my life, I had a very deep conversation with them. And I was able to finally get down to it because essentially this person really wanted to convince me of something. They were super determined to convince me to do something. And I don't like that energy, all right? In the past, I would have just been like, yeah. I wouldn't have wanted to deal with the intensity that this individual was pushing forward. And I just would have been like, have a little bit of a pattern of a people pleaser in the past, all right? I'm getting better, you guys. So I'm at a different point in my life, all right? And I stood my ground, I was very firm, and I was able to keep within my story because this guy was particularly framing things in a way where it's just like I was a bad guy. And he was doing it in a very subtle way. And I was just like, that's what you want to think, But I was able to get down to it where he told me his story. People always tell me no. I'm used to it. I just come to expect it. Now it's contradictory because he was trying so freaking hard to convince me, you guys. He was trying so hard to convince me. All right. If he really believed that everyone was going to say no or that I was going to say no in the first place, why would he have tried so hard? All right. It's because he wants people to say yes. He hopes people say yes, but he expects them to say no. And this is based upon what? It's not just an unemotional experience too. This is not an unemotional story, especially for him. I could sense it. I could feel it based upon our experiences together, where he is afraid of being told no. He is afraid of validating this fear that he has. And so he tries really hard in a certain way, which ends up proving himself the story is true. And so this is a huge thing of what forgiveness work truly is, what Jesus is here to tell us, all right? That we can let go of these old patterns and these old stories which keep us locked in a traumatic experience, which keep us locked in sin, which keep us locked in a hell that we keep living over and over and over. When I talk about, like I say, there's only one absolute, guys, so you got to read into what I'm saying, but I'm coming from a different perspective, all right? Because people say, the Ouroboros, it's beautiful, all right? From this context that I'm telling you, no, the Ouroboros is the snake eating its own tail. All right. Now, when we really look at this, all right, this is not a continuing pattern of infinity. All right. If anything, it's a thing getting tighter and tighter and tighter. It's a loop that's getting closer and closer, more and more confined. And that's what these stories end up doing to us, where we become disempowered because the story is disempowering. It is not an expansive story, which is allowing for more love, more beauty, more experiences to come through. If anything, it's confining. We're eating ourselves, all right? And that's what these stories end up doing. The only way to change is to change. And I know that, that sounds silly, all right? But this is also why it's so important to gain more consciousness, more awareness over the situation, and to see that it's a story. Because that's a huge leap, you guys. That's a huge leap. So many individuals, and I would say this individual as well, to some degree, we'll see about certain things, all right? Like about teachability. That's maybe a subject for a different video, though. But this individual very much externalized it, where to him it's just like people tell him no, and there was no sense of responsibility on his half, all right? We're just like, yeah, just people tell me no, I'm used to it. Yeah, I'm used to it, and which is also a story which he's using to defend himself from the truth thing that's going on here. Now, I can't tell you what that is, all right? I am not this individual, and so I come from kind of a different level. If I was to try to put myself in his boots, though, from my angle, where if people are telling me no, it's because, and I was fearful about this particular situation, it's because I would be afraid that I'm invalid. All right. Oh my God, this person's telling me no, and I'm invalid. That's why they're telling me no. I'm not worth it. I'm not worthwhile. That is a story, okay? That is a story, you guys. This is why awareness is so important. When we recognize, like in this particular instance, if someone tells me no, it has almost virtually nothing to do with me. That's not 100% true, all right? That's not 100% true. It's not an absolute, you guys. But when people are doing things and saying things, they're really reflecting where they're at for the most part, all right? The other side of that, too, is that what is the energy that we're coming in? Like this particular individual, if he was coming from a different energy, a different vibration, I might have said yes. I might have said yes. I was pretty, but like I'm saying before, I wasn't really into it. So I was going to say no, probably either way. It didn't matter what he did, what he bribed me with, what he threatened me with. It wouldn't have mattered. I was going to say no. I was going to say no anyway. There's a little bit of a caveat. I might have done stuff for some particular reason, but it's just like the Holy Spirit would tell me, I guess is the best way to say it. It's the best way to say it. And what I was getting is just like, nope. If you don't want to do this, Keith, don't do it. All right, you don't have to do this. And it was so great because it was very revealing for me to see where this individual was at. And he's not a bad guy, all right? This guy isn't a bad guy by any means. He's one of the many who are struggling, you guys, And I'm one of the many, all right? I'm struggling in a different way, though. Like, I'm not trying to isolate or differentiate myself so much, but it's just I apparently have a greater level of consciousness than a lot of people. It just appears to be that way because I can talk about these subjects and I'm aware of these subjects. I've done a lot of work, you guys. All right, I've gone through a lot of these stories and released a lot of stories, and I recognize them for what they are. Not everybody's in that boat. Am I perfect? Frick, no. I still got stories that I'm operating on that are unconscious to me, all right? And this is what I was talking about before. I still have some of those patterns, all right? And this is why I haven't made a video in the past few days. I've been munching on process and stuff, and I'm really seeing, especially now talking about it, that it's been this fear. It's been this fear, and I could tell you stories about it, but the core factor is that and this is what it is for most people. Just like I was saying before, when we really break down stories, all right, we see that it's covering up insecurities. I'm not worthy. Nobody loves me. I'm all alone in a bad way, all right? Because I feel like you can be isolated and alone, and it's a beautiful thing. Shoot, you guys, I've been in romantic relationships that were horrid, all right, absolutely horrid, where I was almost never alone, all right? And then being on my own was like a blessing, all right? There's a season for every time, all right? But there's aspects of that where it's just like, I do like community, all right? I do like people, all right? I do. I would love a romantic relationship which is truly reciprocal, and I think many people would. However, part of this is, and this is the irony, and this is kind of going more into esoteric teachings, but manifestation, all right? We can manifest the things that we focus on to a certain degree, but a lot of this is the more that we attach to it, all right, the more we kind of drive it away from us. And I'm telling you why here on the emotional side of things, all right? And it's because it's to cover up a weakness, all right? And there's a huge difference with that, all right? If I am, and this goes back to the guy that I'm talking about, all right? He really, really, really wanted to prove to himself that people would tell him yes and that he was valid, all right? However, the way that he was going about it is always going to result in failure, all right? And I know always is a strong term, but just like traditionally speaking, it's not going to yield the results that he truly wants, all right? He's got to do the work himself. He's got to do the internal work himself. It's not convince other people to say yes to him, all right? Because those things are just stories that he's telling himself to tell himself, oh, wait, no, I am valid. And those are, it's like a drug, you guys. It's a temporary solution to an internal problem. And so this is also why I didn't want to put out a video where I'm still in that mindset, you guys. And I do better. Some days are easier than others, I think we can all, identify with that. And so, all right, I gotta get it back on my train of thought here. The true issue is what I had just been talking about, and that it's an internal job. All right, and it's to cover up those things. And so I was talking about manifestation. That's right. So the big thing is that, like, I'll use my own life as an example. All right, I really, really, really still want a mutual, reciprocal, romantic relationship where we see each other, where it's this beautiful thing. I have a deep capacity for love. All right, and I would love to have someone else who's capable of giving me that reciprocal energy. All right, and uh, um, we just go to heaven together. We just keep him. We hold each other accountable in a good way. We support each other in a good way, and we just get more and more loving and beautiful and honest. And it's just that's the relationship that I ask for. Now, with that said, why don't I have it yet? There could be different reasons for it, but I'm going to be bluntly honest here. It's because I really want it. All right, I really want it, which means I'm attached to it. I'm attached to having this particular relationship. And why would I be attached to having this particular relationship? Because now I'm worthy. See, I have this beautiful relationship, so I must be worthy now. All right, I'm worthy of having this. I'm valid. If we're going to use that terminology too, all right, I'm valid now. See, this other person sees me, and I'm valid and everything. But whoa, 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 hold up, right? Let's take a step back. What am I really saying then? I'm weak. I have weakness inside myself, all right? I am now pinning a huge amount of responsibility upon my partner to validate me. And so rather than be a source of love and support and reciprocal energy for my partner, what would I become? All right, I'd become a weight. All right, and this would be more of a psychological weight. Now, this is why I think it's very important to have to be of the same faith in so much as we're healing and getting better with each other, and that it's so important to understand this process and be conscious, like I say, all right, you guys, because then we help each other go to heaven. All right, this is what I mean by us getting better and better and better. All right, and it's because guess what, no matter who is going to be my romantic partner in the future, I'm still gonna have some issues, probably. Someone's like it's just the way that it is, all right. And my partner, no matter how much work they've done, they're probably gonna have some issues too. But that's why we're here for each other. We're here to hold each other accountable, but also support each other, also love each other during that process, to be a source of love, to be like, hey, I see you, I love you, all right. And this isn't my deal. This is your deal, all right. You gotta do the work to get over this, and I'm here for you, whatever I can do to help you with this, okay? But it's not my deal. And that's a big part of that, all right? Especially within relationships. When we start pointing the finger, like, you need to treat me better, you need to do this, you need to do that, really that finger is pointing at themselves, okay? For the most part. That's how it is for everybody, all right? I know I mentioned it a little bit early in the video, but teachability, I was like, unrelated, somewhat related, but I was having a discussion about teachability with a member of the congregation that I'm a part of. And essentially, what they showed me is that at the moment, they're not really that teachable. And yes, this individual was projecting that unteachability onto me. And so, it is what it is. A past me would have been trying to convince this individual, oh my God, you need to see that's not true. I really am teachable, all right? I do try to do everything to I love the truth. All right, I absolutely love the truth. And where I'm at in my life right now is I don't need to prove it to anybody. I know that I love the truth. I know that I'm teachable. Okay, like I just know it. And this is coming from a place of strength. All right, this is coming not from a place of weakness, but a place of strength. And I only know because I feel it. All right, I feel it. I feel it in my heart. All right, rather than being afraid of being misseen, I don't care. All right, I know the truth. All right, I love the truth. I seek the truth. Ask and ye shall find. All right, I love the truth so much that I'm willing to experience pain. And I have, you guys. I absolutely have. And knowing that, having these memories of that, having these memories of going through so much for no other reason than the truth. Woo! Hallelujah. And this is why I feel like I've been blessed with such a deep expansive level of consciousness and awareness is because I've aimed for it, you guys. I've aimed for it. And that's what the difference is here, all right? I wanted to know foundational reality. I cared about it. I asked for it. I didn't want to just follow the teachings of Jesus. I wanted to know what Jesus meant, all right? There's a huge freaking difference, all right? And everyone's coming from a different level, all right? I'm not, and I don't mean to sound condemnatory toward individuals who are just following Jesus for the sake of, his words and then taking it on a very materialistic, literal level. That's okay. That's totally okay. That's not where I'm at, all right? I'm just letting you guys know where I'm at. Like, I am going to question the words of Jesus so that I can better understand what's being said here. And I'm going to interpret it in a way where it's empowering, all right? Where it's reflecting the truth, the way, and the life, all right? I'm going to do that. And if it doesn't resonate with me, I'm going to discard it. Guess what? There's going to be people of my congregation who say that that's extremely selfish. All right, they're going to say, oh, you're just acting from the flesh. And the very interesting thing is, whoa, do you see the finger pointing back at me? This is what projection is. And so many people are still stuck in this place. All right. So many people are still stuck in this place, but it's getting better. It's getting better. And I also frame this in this way too, where it's just like, I don't condemn any of these people. All right. Like in the past, I used to feel really sorry for them. I used to feel really sorry for them. Now I just have essentially like what the Buddha teaches you guys, where it's just I have compassion for these individuals. They're on their own boat. They got to learn the truth their own way, all right? I'm going to be as conducive as I can to help them, but I'm also living my own journey too, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not sinking my boat so that they'll feel better about all the holes in their boat, okay? I'm not doing that. That's what a people pleaser essentially is, all right? They start patching up their boat, and they're doing really well, all right? They're sailing the seas of life. And then you get these individuals who are like, oh man, my boat's so sinky. It's always sinking all the time, and I have all these holes in it. And they don't literally say that. If anything, they project it outward, and they say, that highfalutin boat over there, man, you shouldn't be so sailing high on the seas. You should be down like me, bailing out every single second, using all of my freaking energy to bail out the water because that's what I'm in. That's the position I'm in. And so what is it? It's like jealousy, you guys. And this boat that comes over, and they point out, hey, you're sinking because you have a whole bunch of holes in your boat, all right? How about you fix them? And some of these individuals are like, screw you for telling me that I have a bunch of holes in my boat, okay? Screw you. All right, I'm repositioning there. And I'm looking at this too, like in the past I've wanted to help other people repair their boats, and I've exposed myself to a lot of those kind of situations. At this point now, I don't know if I'm kind of done with that. We'll kind of see what the Holy Spirit has for me, but to me it's more just like, hey, you got holes in your boat. Bye. Hey, bye guys. Bye. Good luck. Love you guys. I'm sailing really fast because I don't have a bunch of holes in my boat. All right. And when I get other people who are just trucking by me because they're high sailing on the seas, they got like 0 holes in their boats, and they're just like, hey there, kid. Yeah, there's a boat. There's a hole right there. Thank you guys. Thank you. Maybe I'll catch up to you. It's a totally different attitude, totally different story that we're telling ourselves. All right, and this is what I mean. All right, this is the whole point of stories. All right, I'm looking at the time, 24 minutes. Whew. And then recognizing what that fear is, all right? It's okay to fear drowning in the ocean because your boat's full of holes, okay? But if the fear is about seeing other people who have less holes in their boat than you do, as an individual, one has to get over that, all right? One just has to get over that. Otherwise, you're just going to be trapped in that, all right? And so much of this process is becoming aware, all right? Because these things are happening like in the background, all right? Just like in the background, and subconsciously, unconsciously, there's different ways to say it, all right? And this is why consciousness is so important, all right? And it's a steady process, all right? And it's work, you guys. It truly is work. Even just becoming aware of what's going on sometimes, all right? but it is the most honest, worth it work in the world, you guys. This is what Jesus talks about. When we do these kind of things, we're making our yoke lighter. All right, continuing to use this metaphor, I love it. Just created it on the spot. I'm going to continue to use it now. But we get to sail the high seas, easier and easier. All right, it makes it better. It's worth it to do this work. All right, we got to patch those holes in our own boat, and trying to make other people or fill other people's boats with holes, or get other people to like holify their own boat. No, 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 no. All right. And this is also part of this healing process too. Other people who are with me in this particular way. All right, you guys. We're going to have individuals who are going to attempt to get us to hole our own boat. All right. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because ultimately, the only holes in my boat are the ones that I put there, and the ones, yes, that's just the best way to say it. All right, you guys, on a very real level, there are holes in their boat because they put them there. Now, there's layers to this where like generational trauma, other things. We might have come into this world, with pre-existing sin, where at the very initial point of our early childhood per se, all right, we don't have the capacity to understand what we're doing. And so when an adult or someone tells us this is the way the world is, or you're worthless, or make us feel worthless, or they are worthless, and so then they kind of share their way of reality with us, and then we adopt that way of reality, then we're punching holes in our own boat. We're just not aware of what we're really doing. All right, and we just tell ourselves this is how life is. People just punch holes in their boats. And then we make a story about that stuff too, where it's just like, oh yeah, the people with less holes in their boats, they're arrogant. The people with less holes in their boats, yeah, they're really selfish. Okay, it's a story. A story, in my opinion, which is keeping people trapped with the holy boat, and not in a divine holy way. All right, in a in a void holy way. All right, sinking the boat way. And this is what it is about, you guys. All right, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. It's an option. All right, it's totally an option. But this is also why I premise this. Is it really an option? Now, what do I mean by that? This is what free will is, okay? We want to have free will. When my boat has less holes in it, I can steer in any direction. I can go in certain places. I can do things that I could never do if my boat was full of holes, because I don't have the free will to do it. All right? I'm too busy bailing out the water to keep my boat afloat. I'm using all of my energy not in directing my boat, but in keeping my boat afloat. All right? Like, that's the whole premise of all of this. All right? And that's why I love that metaphor. I'm going to use it in the future too. So I'm glad. Thank you guys. This is why I like to make videos. Okay, it helps me. These videos help me too. Helps me find the way to be able to communicate these stories through parable, through allegory. All right. And thank you for being part of my journey, you guys. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, just like usual. All right. If you like my stories, if you like what I'm laying down, give me a like. Give me a few likes if you can. I don't know. You can only do one, but still, just saying. And subscribe. All right. I only got 2 subscribers at the moment, but I'd love more. And I'm open to whatever, all right, guys? Even if those 2 subscribers leave, at this point, I'm still going to make videos, all right? Because as you can see, it's important for me. It's part of my healing process, I guess. And definitely, like, I'm going to low-key admit it, if it starts getting more subscribers and everything, that's actually going to be quite the conundrum, all right, for me. And so it's just like, hey, on one level, yes, I'd love more subscribers, but on another level, it's okay. I'm okay, here in the small little pool. I don't need that many right now because it's more comfortable for me, guys, if I'm being honest. So if you want to see me more uncomfortable, then subscribe, all right? So, yeah, you want to challenge me, then subscribe, all right? So love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for being part of my journey. We'll just kind of keep it there for now. And remember, all right, just remember, there's only one absolute, all right, and we're either getting better or we're getting worse. We're making our boat full of holes, or we're patching them up, all right. And remember that we can only do it ourselves, all right, as an individual. So there you go. Peace out, love within. Catch you on the flip side.